tell us why that discovery of a small animal model is so significant.
Yeah, so it's very exciting that our institute has been able to establish now 4 animal models for COVID-19, and they're all being tested now for therapies and vaccines in the race for cures. Previously, we had focused on non-human primate models. These are large animal models, and there are 2 of them that we've established, a rhesus macaque model and a baboon model, and they are preferred models, particularly the macaque model, for a number of our industry partners, recapitulating many aspects of human disease. But they're large, they're expensive, hard to do what is called high throughput, which is to test a lot of therapies, for example, that are coming through the pipeline, particularly antibody therapies. So small animal models are critical in the pipeline because they're easier to work with. You can have many more variables, many more different kinds of therapies can be tested and in combination. And so you can achieve a higher throughput through small animal models. We were one of the first in the country to receive a new, what's called transgenic animal model, a mouse model. The mice are normally resistant to SARS-CoV-2, but this model has brought into it DNA that allows it to express the human receptor for SARS-CoV-2, for the virus causing COVID-19. And it's at a higher level of expression than other mouse models previously. And we were able to determine that these mice are very susceptible to the virus. That is, they die as a result of being exposed to SARS-CoV-2. So they are really a model of severe COVID-19, something we had not seen in the large animal models. So this is now a very robust model where if animals that are untreated cannot survive infection, and now you are able to do high throughput testing a number of different new therapies, and the animals can live, or more animals can live, you have a black and white readout for efficacy of a new therapy. So now we have those models online, which are going to become quite popular, especially for testing new therapies. So we're excited. We have a great scientific team that has performed these studies, and we're moving quickly forward.
Very good. So just to sum up, and if you would, as they say, in English, so our viewers can understand. But no, I understood what you said. I'm just worried about our viewers to make sure they understand. Again, that these small rodents, these wonderful mice, actually mimic what humans are going through, thereby making it easier for you to test and develop vaccines and antivirals. Is that right? If you would just kind of sum that up for me?
Right. The new animal model represents severe disease, and the other part of it is that they're easy to work with, and that you can test more things quickly.
And hopefully get some answers more quickly.
And get answers more quickly. That's correct.
Right. And the fact that, again, that they mimic what humans are having to undergo, that is tremendously helpful.
Exactly. So they have, the immune system is awakened by the virus like humans. And in this case, they develop severe disease. Only a small percentage of humans infected die from COVID-19, but this model would be representative of those types of patients that have a catastrophic outcome.
Very good. Thank you so much, sir. And by the way, I did read further into it, and I'd heard that before, that it's usually the body's immune system that goes into overdrive that ends up sadly causing death. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, something the public needs to know for many infections, not just COVID-19, is that what gives you the symptoms, what gives you fever, what gives you cough, what gives you weight loss, is really your body's immune system trying to fight this foreign invader. And in the case of a brand new virus like COVID-19, the immune system is going, oh, wow, I've never seen this before. And as a result, it goes into what you called overdrive. That's a good term. And that kind of chaotic response in certain individuals who are infected could lead to very bad outcomes. So it's that immune response that needs to be tackled as well as the virus itself.
But again, these small animals allow you to hone in on that.
They absolutely do. And they really will become quite important in our quest to identify new therapies, in particular for fighting COVID-19.
Very good, sir. Well, let's move on, because as you indicated, it's certainly an example of what's involved in just trying to develop a vaccine that's safe enough for humans, correct?
That's correct.
So then what do you want the public to understand about what they're hearing regarding, for instance, yesterday's announcement about the Pfizer's contract with the US government? Many people may think, oh, good, we're almost there. Realistically, though, should they get their hopes up that the pandemic will be over soon based on announcements such as this?
Right. Well, I mean, we've had good news in the last week because we now have published studies. That is, that they have gone through something called peer review. So they've been critically analyzed, and particularly the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is showing a positive response. Is the body is responding the way we would want it to respond in over 1,000 individuals who received the vaccine. That's good news. And now it suggests that we have really 3 vaccines that are leading at the moment that are being approved for what are called phase 3 clinical studies. These are the critical, largest clinical studies to really begin to determine whether they're going to be effective in preventing COVID-19 in humans. And that's all really good news, meaning that science is progressing, scientists are working hard, and we're starting to get information that's going to help us ultimately get what we need, which is a vaccine to get us back to normal. However, the caveat here is we're still in the development stage of that vaccine. Those phase 3 trials are much larger. They take time, and there can be some aspects to the trials that forces them to slow down, change. And so we have to let time take its course in these clinical trials to determine whether those vaccines are safe and effective. And that's why you're hearing that there's optimism by the end of the year that we'll have that kind of information, and therefore we will have a vaccine. But what we really will have, we'll have evidence that a given vaccine works. But that's not a vaccine that's ready to give to you and me. That vaccine may not be as effective as we thought it should be. It's got to be at least 50% effective to move forward. And often the first vaccines are not the most effective. So let's just be aware of that. And then it's all about manufacturing and distribution. And although we're moving fast with manufacturing firms, there still could be roadblocks there as well. So very optimistically, we're talking about early 2021 for the vaccine, but I will state that I still think that's very optimistic and faster than ever been done before. Now, last point is that the FDA is the final arbitrator of what is safe and effective, and there will be no vaccine that is approved for human use until it is safe and effective. That requires a whole bunch of information, not just the clinical trials, but evidence of how the vaccine works in the body, and it needs confirmatory evidence from animal models. So Texas Biomed today is working with some of the companies you're hearing about to also evaluate these vaccines in our animal models. That information also needs to go to the FDA. So the whole package needs to look good, get to the FDA. The FDA may say, we want more. And we may have to go out and do more experiments to prove safety and efficacy. So it is what we call an iterative process, back and forth, till we achieve safety and efficacy. And that takes time too. So cautionary tale, but we're in the right direction.
Very good. So even though there might be this a possible vaccine, quote unquote, by early 2021, if you throw in the FDA, could it take longer, or will the FDA be involved ahead of that?
Well, the FDA is involved
Clarify.
ahead of it, but I'm suggesting either the FDA or results of the trials, some changes that need to be made, and a bunch of questions regarding manufacturing may ultimately slow it down. So I still think it's very optimistic to be able to actually distribute vaccine. Remember, this is vaccine not just for the US, but worldwide. And so we're talking about billions of people potentially. We still don't know how many doses. We don't know the timing of those doses. So what is the best way to give you or me the vaccine still needs to be established. So, we're on the road, but, we still have optimism, but I think we should be cautious. And I think it's critical to have these interviews to let the public know from people like myself who are infectious disease specialists about some of these cautionary aspects to developing a vaccine, particularly in the midst of a pandemic. I'm also excited that I believe antibody therapy is coming along. In fact, we may have better therapies before we have a vaccine. And even that would be a great breakthrough if we're able to help resolve infection more effectively in a given person. So that's exciting news also.
That is very exciting, very, very exciting. And just one quick follow-up question, because I know we're almost out of time. But so given everything that you described, how much longer then before you think maybe we'll get it out there to the public? Not early 2021, could be much later. Who knows? Correct?
Yeah, I mean, it could be later in 2021 or 2022. And that's why I think we need to move the therapies along, because I think they can move faster. And we need to help people ahead of the vaccine. If all we're talking about is the vaccine, I think we're missing the boat. We have people dying every day, and we are working very hard to find something that will be proven to be effective to, even in those infected, make their course of infection milder, make them get back to health quicker. And that's why I think the middle ground will be therapy before the vaccine is ultimately available.
Well said, sir. One last quick question, and we've got about a minute left. It's kind of a loaded question, but I'm sure you'll handle it. Do you worry that the public may be leery about possible political pressures jeopardizing or tainting the validity of a potential vaccine, perhaps to the point they may not want to participate in any trials or even take the vaccine whenever it's finally made available?
Sure, I am concerned. Before COVID-19, we already had a small vocal group of people who had what we call vaccine hesitancy or anti-vaxxers. That is the concern about vaccines in general doing harm. And I think we're going to have to be very cognizant of that group of people. And therefore, I stand behind science as a scientist that safety and efficacy will not be compromised. I'm convinced will not be compromised. So by the time a vaccine is proven and available, that the public will receive a safe vaccine. Now, I think we need to have a lot of education. I think we need to really talk a lot about these studies in terms that people understand, so that they understand just how safe it is relative to other potential dangers that we face in life. Although a concern, I believe that is our obligation to educate on what vaccines can do, because historically vaccines have been the game changer. They have been the way to eradicate infectious diseases. And these threats continue, and we need to be better prepared than we are in this pandemic. And I'm excited and engaged that Texas Biomedical Research Institute can be part of the solution for solving future pandemics.
And again, you're confident then that science will not fall to political pressures that could perhaps alter the validity of what they're working on or producing?
It cannot be. Of course, I am concerned. And what's different about this pandemic is the 24/7 news cycle. and the integration of politics and science, that does concern me as a scientist, absolutely. But I stand behind science, I stand behind the work at the NIH by Dr. Fauci, and I stand behind my colleagues who understand what's necessary in terms of bringing something safe to people. We want to help people, we don't want to hurt people. So yes, political pressure, but those of us who have the opportunity to speak will tell you that we'll push back, and the scientific community will continue to push back, because at stake are human lives, and in public health, number one is to improve human health and to improve the human condition, and we won't compromise on that.